Hi friends! I love Pokemon, and I love art, and I love randomly selecting a card from a booster pack and creating fan art based on that card. So for this time around, I opened a pack of Paldea Evolved, and these were the cards that were the choices. Of course, you already know which one ended up getting picked, but I thought I'd show you all of them. I don't normally talk during these kinds of things. I just kind of play music in the background, but I did a video kind of like this with commentary, and it seemed to go well, so I'm going to do another one. So I shuffled them up. I picked this card. Guess which one it is? Paldean Wooper. When I first picked this, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but then I thought about this style of painting that I love to work in, and I instantly knew what I wanted to do. And so I started in the background with what's sort of called an acrylic pour. Basically, it's really watered down acrylic paint, and you add an oil to it that when you mix the paints on top of each other, they create these sort of cells and creates for a really cool looking texture. And when I first looked at the background of this Wooper, all of the different textures in the dirt and stuff, and as things are kind of splashing up through the mud as he's running through it, it just kind of reminded me of this kind of acrylic pour texture. And so I thought this would be a really great way to start the background. So I basically just kind of start off by adding in colors around the canvas that are similar to what I saw in the background. Mine are a little darker than the original, but that's okay. And then you just swipe it across, and you start getting all these really cool looking cells. They just kind of bubble up. I could watch this all day. I love this kind of stuff. So I went through and I ended up doing that to the whole background. It is kind of hard to control where the colors end up, at least for me. But I do like to kind of let the paint talk, and so it does what it wants, and I try to work with it and turn it into something. There's definitely moments when I feel like I probably should have stopped, but I kept going, but it all works out. So this is kind of an up close of what the texture looks like by itself. A lot of this will end up getting covered up by the rest of the painting, so I always like to kind of just showcase what it looked like before. Some spots I feel like look cooler than others, and I wish I could pick and choose which spots get covered up and which don't, but that's not always the way it goes. So next step is starting to paint in the rest of the painting, and I always kind of like to start with my subject, which in this case was Wooper. Because if I can get that painted in, then it kind of gives me a guideline on where all the other pieces will go. I also did a sort of base paint of the trees, which I'm now going back and adding in a much thicker layer of paint. And this was designed to kind of give the tree a natural bark texture. So I purposefully used really thick paint. I let there be lots of thick lines. You can see here it kind of looks like the bark of a tree. And then I added palette knife paint on top. Basically, I just painted with a palette knife on top. But unfortunately, the way I recorded it, the lighting was terrible. So I'll still show it to you, but it looks a lot cooler in person than it did in this little clip. You can kind of see it on the left there, though. Now, the next thing I wanted to do is I saw some grass in the background that I thought would be really cool if some of the grass was dripped paint. So I turned the canvas upside down and I painted in some green drips in certain spots where the grass was going to go, over by the tree as well. And then there was also some down at the bottom of the image. And I thought it might be kind of fun to flip this around and watch the grass grow. The joys of editing. So here I started splatter painting, and you can't really tell far away when I'm filming this, but up close you can see all the little splatters, which I really thought was pretty fun considering that Wooper looks like he's running through some mud and it's kind of splashing up. And so I felt like having some splatter paint in there would be a nice effect. And then I started to add in all of the foliage on the outside, the leaves and things. A lot of these didn't turn out as well as I had hoped, but in the end, it all comes together pretty well, so I can't really complain. I also came through and added this sort of hazy light paint that I saw in the original. It kind of almost looks misty in the background. And I didn't record it, but I did end up adding a little bit of yellow as well. Like, this is just plain white. And then I went back and sort of added a brownish gold, which you can see in the top there. And then now it's time to paint in Wooper. Now, one of the hardest things about this kind of style of painting that I do is that the first layer where I did the acrylic pour, it's so thick with paint that you lose a lot of the tooth of the canvas. And so when I'm trying to go in and paint shadows, it can be kind of difficult because the paint just kind of smudges around as opposed to sticking into the teeth of the canvas and creating more of a soft blend. I had to go back quite a few times, but we made it work. And then we start to get his little face in there. He looks kind of creepy with just the solid black eyes, but we'll get the whites of his eyes too. And I started with one layer of the tongue and then I let it dry and I came and did this other side of the bones. Is that bones? They kind of look like bones to me, but I'm not really sure. And then almost done, just came back in and added a little bit more texture to the tongue. And there you go. He's all done. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you like this sort of thing and you want me to do more commentary videos, let me know. See y'all next time.